Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the co-founder and CEO of DLA Ignite. With me today, I've got Mirko Ross, and we're going to talk about what we need to do to try and build a world which is cyber secure, which I have to be honest, for me, sounds like a very, very high mountain to climb. Before we get into that, Mirko, where can we find you?
Yeah, well, you can find me in social media, for example, on Twitter, Mirko_Ross, or on LinkedIn. That's perfect. So I think that's the main two channels you can get in touch with me.
Fantastic. And I need to probably say that we're recording this, even though we're recording this is going to be around forever. We're recording this amongst the context of the fact that Russia have invaded Ukraine about 5 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as well, like we have planned the topic long before.
We did.
And now we are in a situation where this topic is getting more urgent than ever, like what we see with this crisis.
Mm-hmm. So just about your background, you're a former hacker, you run a cybersecurity startup, you're a father with a 13-year-old, and you're from Stuttgart.
Yep.
So how tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got where you are today and how you came up with the idea of your startup and stuff like that, because your startup idea is just amazing. And so, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I was interested in cybersecurity since I was a teenager. So, I mean, that's as well, the teenage time is often a time where you start working as in hacktivism or hacking, disassembling system, try to investigate the backdoor.
In my day, I built things with a soldering iron and took them apart. There wasn't, but I guess.
Yeah, but it's a typical nerd. Nerd history. I was maybe not the most attractive teenager, but I had the best skills on computers. So, and nerds are the new heroes of today. So,
yes,
forget the football players. It's the nerds.
It's the nerds.
Yeah.
So I found an article, and you kind of smiled when I pointed this out just before we came on, and the article said that there are cyber attacks on cars increased 225% in the last 3 years.
So it means from 1 to 2 cars?
Well, yeah, the reason why there's a big percentage is that there's a lot of, you start off very, very small. But there's a whole list of other highlights in terms of 40% of attacks targeted at back-end service, 51% of attacks carried out by black hat actors, and I could go hacking of key fobs has gone up, etc., etc.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a simple rule, which means if it's connected, you can hack it. And of course, even the automotive industry is super aware of that. Nobody will tell you that a car is 100% safe if it's connected. Nobody will do that. But of course, the entire industry is looking on how can you increase the level of security. And for cars, it's of course super critical because on cars we have always a safety issue in there. Nobody wants to get a car hacked while you're driving and the hacker's taking over control of the brakes or the steering wheels. By the way, we have seen that.
Yes. I mean, I remember, even though it's been on a Hollywood film, I can't remember which one it was, where hackers basically hacked into whole load of cars. As you say, if it's connected, it can be hacked.
Yeah. And of course, as this is a new technology for the car industry, let's say connecting a car to the internet is really a new technology for that industry. Of course, we have to accept that they need a learning curve as well on how to make these things reliable, safe, secure. So this is as well a process. So, but from a consumer side as well, another story, by 2024, every new car which will be shipped worldwide will be connected.
Right. But whether you want it or not.
Yes, you have no options. Yeah. So by that, I think it's very important for the industry to, work on the security side and work together with cybersecurity researchers as well. And the hackers are as well very important. like what we call white hat hackers. People are doing ethical hackings. They're interested in trying to breach the cars, and that's super important because they're super creative as well on doing that. And with their findings and results, you can create much better products which are more safer.
Because I remember when we were talking in preparation for this, you said, imagine a world where everything is connected. So this world of the Internet of Things, where it's not just my printer at the back, which you laughed at. You said, "Oh yeah, there's things in there like from the 1970s." It's like, and it said your chair could be your chair that you're sitting in could be connected. Your all things that can be connected. I mean, everyone, I'm talking through a computer and I've got my mobile phone, which are just obvious things that could be connected. And then you said, and then imagine your chair is connected, and then imagine that your chair has ransomware.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the world we are facing, and as well a world which is super complicated in terms of the connections and the services. So it's, even if you're a user, not so easy to understand what is your connected chair connected at the end, and who is your chair talking to. I mean, that's really a problem. And I mean, we've seen it last week, like when the Ukraine has been invaded, the Russians have just take off two very important private satellite networks. Obviously, it was a cyber attack to take out these networks out of the game. And these networks, for example, are as well operators for private companies and organizations. So what we see now, that a lot of wind power generators are not more connected. So there's no remote connections, no remote control for them. They are not sending the data. So they are all currently working in, let's say, less and more emergency modes. And this is a disruption to infrastructure. Nobody was thinking about that this could be maybe disrupted by an attack, which has a completely other aim. So this was not aiming the power generators. It was aiming communication and military communication.
And I think that's one of the things that we're starting to, we're starting to see, isn't it, in the cyber secure world or cybersecurity world, which is that it's still in its infancy. You can't see. I've got my hand on the floor like it's like there's a little child. And what we're doing is that we're suddenly, as it's growing up, that has an impact over here. So one of the things that obviously this show isn't about pitch, but one of the things that's interesting is what your company does, which is about doing cybersecurity on the blockchain for things like cars.
Yeah, we are using blockchain technology for certain things, but I'm as well like a cybersecurity guy. I'm a little bit, let's say, careful on where do you use blockchain and for what. So it's more specific for the people out there. We are using distributed ledger.
Right.
And the reason why that we can process and do things on a more decentralized level with that. And decentralization means it's more resilient, for example. So it's not so easy to attack. If you have a centralized service, it's rather easy to, for example, take out the service or disturb the service, for example, by a DDoS attack. This is more difficult for decentralized services. So, and all what we need is more resilience in the system.
Because you've also there's the famous example, and obviously this is a family show, and anybody could watch. But there was a particular example, wasn't there, of how do I put this? An adult toy.
Yeah.
That was available, and it had an app, and there was a hardware part and the software part, and it got hacked.
Yes, but this is a very good example of an IoT product. First of all, you can ask, is it a good idea to take an adult toy and connect it to the internet? As I said, if it's connected, you can hack it. Maybe it's not a good idea, but obviously it was adding another new level of user experience. And even like in the pandemic situations, like couples who have been really physically separated by distance and can't meet. So maybe for them, it was really a great opportunity to enjoy whatever they like together. So they were using connected toys. But on this toys, for example, there's messaging in there, like people are sending very private messages, which have been completely not encrypted. Secondly, we've seen researchers who had been able to take over remote control on these toys. And then I think maybe the experience was less fun and more fun for your neighbor who take over the control. Because there were weak points in the protocols, in the radio protocols they were using. And then, which is as well to me completely privacy intruding, there had been toys with cameras in there. And we've seen that even like it was possible to access as a hacker on these cameras. And this is, I mean, this is completely.
I remember the first when the first baby cameras came out, which was, you know, a camera on where you could see the cot of the baby and whether the baby was awake or not, and you could basically do it from your phone. And then I think the moment that people realized that they could be hacked, everybody was of course completely shocked, because people were just, you know, they said, someone said, here's a website which has all of the cameras, it's transmitting them to it.
So for the people out there, the website is Shodan, which is a website only for searching IoT products. And as cameras, connected cameras are IoT products, and they are the most unsecured IoT products out in the market. So many people are just putting on the cameras, put them in their network, start the operations, and they are not changing the credentials, for example. And then with the factory settings, people from the outside can access them and so on. There are a lot of horrible stories about that, which is, I mean, remarkable, because you see that this is, I mean, can you blame the users for that? I think the users are buying a product and they only see the use case, like I can use that.
Well, we had a thing here in the UK, and I don't know if it was elsewhere, where we had celebrities that had their mobile phones hacked.
Yeah.
But that's because they had their mobile phones delivered in their voicemail, and I can't remember what the stat is. It 88848s or 49s or 41s or whatever it is, and the people weren't going in and changing them.
Yeah, exactly. So the question is, can you blame the users for them? And to me, it's like the users. I mean, in that term, we are like childs. I mean, we have no experience really about why is this dangerous or what is dangerous, and because we have no experience, we are getting hurt. So I think this is a big question, is about education, how to educate people to be more careful. And secondly, for the industry out there, to build products which help people to onboard the cameras and, for example, force them to set a password and set a secure password, for example. And now that's as well going on. So, for example, in the US, if you buy such a new camera, there's a law now in place which has forced the vendors that you set a password, so it's not allowed to use the factory setting for that product anymore.
So, what, you know, education is important in terms of getting people to understand that we need to live in a, you know, more cyber secure world. What else can we do?
I mean, education is of course one key factor. Second is of course the responsibility of the industry as well. I mean, if you think like with this connected adult toy, I mean, however, if you bring in that product to the market, I think you should be forced by regulators to keep a certain level of security in these products, because they are super privacy sensitive products. I mean, this should be not allowed, to be honest. And many of these products are produced in the eastern part of the world, Far East. And I think the people there take less, let's say, responsibility on the privacy of their customers.
It's, I mean, apart from as a consumer, not of that particular product, but as a consumer of Internet of Things type products, you know, what apart from, you know, changing the password and hoping, I mean, what else can I do?
And that all passwords are as well part of the solution and part of the problems as well.
Yes.
First of all, I think it's a good idea to think about where currently at the current situation where you will use connected products and where you have still spaces where no connected products in there. For example, take voice assistance systems. And that's not only the typical ones we know, like obviously there are now many other products out there with voice assistants. Do you want to have them in your sleeping room? I mean, you can have them in your living room, and there are good reasons why they should be in your living room, but maybe you should keep them away from your sleeping room. And there are other rooms you should think about. Can there still be spaces with less connected products in there?
Yes, yes, I can see that. Yeah. And so otherwise it's really down to the industry to sort of get on and actually legislate about this. I mean, is there anything that governments can do?
I mean, governors are already stepping in, because what we have seen is like the first biggest super DDoS attack in the world, where everybody was in the governments was thinking this was a demonstration of a super cyber weapon. It was a botnet operated by IP cameras. So, and this was as well an initial point where governments were looking at this, and they completely understood that this could be a cyber weapon. I mean, you can take any private item of people in the world, you can connect them together, and you can create a super cyber weapon. And this has concerned many governments. So, and that's the reason as well why regulation has stepped in. Like, as I said, in California, for example, you have to change the password of the IP camera now. And even in Europe, we see with the European Cybersecurity Act and other acts that regulation is stepping in, forcing the industry to keep some certain minimum level of security for IoT products.
Because the big product or the big popular product at the moment here in the UK is having the new the Amazon doorbell.
Yeah, very good product, often hacked. Enjoy. Sorry, as a cybersecurity expert, I mean, like, which is as well a fact for some vendors that they can continuously fail on cybersecurity, and consumers don't care about it.
Because I know that people have started putting posters up of the fact that, or notices up saying that they, because people have complained that, I don't know, they did something in front of the person's house and it was all recorded because it was on they've got a camera on the doorbell. Yeah. But you could be in a situation, I guess, where someone could come and just open your front door.
Yeah, I mean, for this doorbell stuff, what we have seen so far, it's less a problem, or we have seen less problems that people were opening the doors, but we have seen other problems, like when the services was interrupted, that people were no more allowed to enter their houses, for example, and their buildings. So you're standing in front of a bricked doorbell, which is bricking as well your door. That's not a problem.
Yeah, I think there's an advert that takes the mick out of that, where a guy goes to the dentist and he's trying to get in the front door, right?
Yeah, but that's so we should not always think about, oh, that this is a device which it's getting hacked and someone can access my camera. That's of course a super bad thing, but we see like, oh, what's up with this connected toys when the backend servers are no more there, then you have really bricks. And this is often like these products are super expensive. So you're buying maybe a super expensive brick. And you should be aware of that. So it's always a question like, can this product operate without any IoT connection or internet connection? That's something I would always have a look on, even especially for the smart home situation. And then, which is also interesting, that we have seen that many products have security problems, for example, that you can sniff your credentials, and maybe the access on the product is only interesting to sniff your credentials, because with that credentials you can do a lot of more other interesting stuff, like accessing your social media accounts, your Amazon
account,
and so on.
It's a bit like using going into a coffee shop and using the Wi-Fi, and then accessing your bank.
Exactly, it's the same. So, like many of these unsecured devices are maybe backdoors than to other accounts.
So is there anything, so in terms of what we can do is we need to be, as consumers, we need to be educated. We need to be thinking about things like, can the product work without the internet? Is there an override? But there again, if there's an override, I guess hackers can hack the override.
Yes, I think it's as well some other stuffs, like, for example, is there an update available? Apply the updates. If the best case, the device is asking for updates, or there's an auto mode where it's served with updates. We see it for smart TVs, for example. I mean, this is as well some of the most unsecured products out there are smart TVs. But you have almost no choice to buy a new TV which is not smart. So what should I do? It's a smart TV, but then take care on that really the updates are installed, and don't block the updates and stuff like that. And maybe you should check if the vendor of your smart TV had some security problems in the past. Often they have security problems in the future as well.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on and talking about cybersecurity. It's a immensely interesting subject, not just for me. I think it is for everybody, especially with the current context of the things that are happening out there in the political world today.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And so thank you very much. And so remind people where they can get hold of you.
So no, first of all, Tim, thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome.
It was a pleasure to talk. And yeah, if you just want to get a little bit more information, have a look at the social media accounts, what's going on, even on my social media accounts. I'm constantly posting about cybersecurity, and even like unsecure products like doorbells, smart TVs, and what else going on. So
and I'm gonna start following you from now on, because I find this just I just find it so interesting, partly because of the context of some of the stuff that's going on right now.
Yeah.
There isn't just there is an immense a war going on in terms of people with boots on the ground, but there's also a war going on in terms of the from a cyber perspective.
Yeah, and it's definitively which we are looking as well very carefully, because let's say in a term like we're always using the term cyber war, but what does it really mean, a cyber war? It's not like fighting with a real world that the people are standing in front with guns or whatever. This is really something which is going, which is not so obvious, and even you don't know what parties are engaged and what are the motivations in behind. So this is a very complicated world, and we have to look there very carefully what's going on.
Thank you so much for coming on today, and I really appreciate it, and sharing your expertise with everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tim.
You're welcome. Thank you.